Let's see here. Nathan? Yay. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you. My name is Ricky Stamps, Director of Programs and Events. It is such an honor to be here in front of so many residents, board members, guests, Carriage Club members, and members from our sponsoring churches. Thank you for all of your support for Butterfield Trail Village, and I hope tonight you walk away feeling blessed because of the people that made Butterfield Trail Village happen oh so many years ago. The Luminary series is the title that I gave to our year-long celebration. 40 years is a long time, so I wanted to spread the love, okay? Tonight, our title is Reaching the Summit, but I would love for you to mark your calendars for July 9th. That will be Midsummer Night's Glow, and that's going to be an event for residents and their families. And I will provide invitations for you to send your children, your grandchildren, anyone you would like in your family to come that may have been a part of you deciding to come to Butterfield. Join us for this event. On September 10th, Lighting the Way Gala. This is going to be a very special night. We're going to have a dinner, we'll have entertainment. But the most exciting thing that I'm happy to announce to you this evening is the Butterfield Trail Village Foundation approved funds for us to put together a documentary on Butterfield Trail Village. This documentary will be premiered on that night of September 10th, so be watching your printed information for those wonderful dates and events. What I'd like to do is introduce you to our guest speakers. I felt I needed a rounded view of Butterfield Trail Village, meaning different perspectives. So it's such an honor tonight, and we'll go in this order, and I'll just introduce you once, okay? But I would like to begin this evening with Chuck Nickel, our Butterfield Trail Village board president. Chuck has visions. He has done so much for the village already, and I wanted him to come and share his perspective as the overseer of things. We have Ann Henry, resident. Ann is a second-generation resident, and Ann was also a guest speaker for our 20th anniversary. Jane Shipley, second-generation resident. Her mother was one of our oldest living residents, and it was such a pleasure and honor to know Miss Irma Boyer. Patricia Portner, Senior Director of Resident Services and Licensed Social Worker. Patricia, we've worked together for so many years, and you've seen and so many wonderful things happen. So I wanted a leadership staff person perspective. The newbie on the block is our wonderful Kevin Spears, our CEO. Kevin has done so much for the village since he's been here, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate his openness, his transparency with residents that I've seen, and the transparency he has with his staff. So I would just like you all to come up and share your personal feelings about the village before I start my presentation.
Thank you, Ricky. Can everybody hear me? I'm going to echo happy 40th anniversary Butterfield Trail Village. How time flies when you're having fun. I was first introduced to the concept for senior retirement living by Dr. Henry and Ellen Manin and Merwin and Frida Bridenstine. Some of y'all may remember them. This was sometime back in the 80s when I served on the Finance and Stewardship Committee of First Christian Church. You might recall seeing their names back on the plaque to the right of the fireplace. It seemed like a far-fetched idea to go out in the country and build an entire community for senior living. I cannot recall there being any other retirement community in Northwest Arkansas at that time. I only drove out this far north to play golf at Paradise Valley Golf Club, which was there since I think 1920 something. After all, I was in my 30s and retirement was decades away. Later on, as an elder in the church, I delivered communion to some of our church residents living in the big house. As we reflect on the past 40 years, we owe a debt of gratitude to all those who came before us and made BTV what it is today. My wife, Pam, and I have served on the corporate board for many years, and after my retirement in 2019, she encouraged me to become more active in the corporate board, and in late 21 and early 22, I was elected to serve on the village board. Now in my 5th year, I have made many new friends here, and I'm beginning to understand the culture and the sincere desire the residents have to make BTV the best place to live in Northwest Arkansas. The activities available and the opportunities to serve are almost endless. We have known a number of friends who have lived and are living here, and now several of our high school classmates are residents. I come from a hospital background, as my father was director of Veterans Administration hospitals for over 35 years in 5 different locations across the country, including Fayetteville. And my next oldest brother, Bob, whom some of you know, was a hospital assistant administrator in Memphis. As a professional engineer, I've worked on many hospital projects for Washington Regional Medical Systems. Bill Shackelford, I was, before Larry became his CEO, I worked with Larry on a lot of those projects. It only seems fitting now that I serve the residents on the village board. We have seen numerous changes in the past few years, and BTV is stronger and more vital than ever, both financially and socially, with healthy growth in our carriage club and much needed improvements in our technology, buildings, and grounds. Thanks to the residents and their employees, our village has maintained our preeminent status as one of the best places to retire in all of Arkansas. We are still the only continuous care retirement community in the state with all levels of senior care in one community. As we look forward to the next 40 years, only God knows what new changes will take place and new technologies and services we will provide. It will be an exciting time, and both Pam and I look forward to joining you all as residents when our name comes up on the list, if we live that long. Thank you all for your attention, and once again, happy 40th anniversary, BTV.
Let's see if I can. I'm not tall enough. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can help.
Can you? Thank you.
Here we go. Here we go. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's okay. Well, for almost 40 years, and it's 40 years here, and we are so proud to be here. I was in Morris and I were in law school with Truman Yancey, so we got involved in all those discussions early on through the church, and we were at Central, and we became founding members. And you have to think about what it was like to get 5 different churches to agree to go together. I think about that. That took some real diplomacy and encouragement, and so they were fearless leaders at that point. And that's kind of what we're going to talk. What I want to talk about. So my mother-in-law wanted to come to Butterfield, but it was not finished before she had to go to a nursing home. So she wasn't eligible when it finally opened in '86. She died in '86. My father-in-law
came every night after she died, came down the hill and had supper with us and our 3 teenagers. One day, he came down and told us, well, I went to Butterfield and I bought an apartment and I'm going to be able to have you all out for supper. So he was so proud of himself for doing that. He died in 88. My parents moved in 89. It was such a great experience for them. My mother got to paint again. She could Ricky Stamp's magic for all the people. She was a crafter. I don't ever do anything like that. I would never compete with my mother. And my dad got into Reader's Theater, and it was such a blessing for them. And my children, all his grandchildren, loved the pool, and they loved the buffet. So, Daddy died in 97. Mother, they were together. He was in healthcare. Mother then lived till 2008, and she was in healthcare and then in memory care. And I came daily, almost daily, for 5 years after she fell and had to move to healthcare. And I saw and experienced the love of the residents, the help, the outpouring of support, the volunteerism, and I saw that on a daily basis. And so for us, it was a no-brainer. We joined the Carriage Club. And in 2019, we made the decision that we needed to go ahead and move out here. Morris was he had believe it or not, a high school injury from football and was having a lot of pain, and plus his vision was going down. So we decided, he was served on the board for 2 terms. So I learned a lot about Butterfield during those 2 terms too. When people ask me, why did you move to Butterfield? And I said, and I tell this, and anybody that's out here sees me, because people that are taking a visit, I'll say, do you have children? And they'll say, yes. And I said, it's the best gift you give your children. And it's the best gift you give yourself, because we like to make our own decisions, and we do not like to push them on our children to have to decide where. One man said, I don't understand why you're out there. And he said, but I have a son, he's so cheap. And I said, that's the reason you need to come, because you don't want your son making a decision about which nursing home you're going to go to. I think we fool ourselves a lot of times thinking we won't go to a nursing home. We're all going to die in our sleep. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. God only knows what's going to happen, but I will tell you it's not generally what you plan. So we also learned it is so much better to have a locally owned nonprofit run by local people and people who give of their time than to have to go into, that choose to go to a for-profit, out-of-state owned nursing, that sells. Sometimes there's one here that I think has been sold 3 times already in the last 5 years. So I'm so happy to live here because my sister moved here too. I'm so fortunate. My sister lives here. We're both widows now, and I have the gym every day available. Do I go every day? No, I don't do all the things that I should do, but I have healthy meals. I have my health care here. I've used the physical therapy program here. I don't have to leave. I get my hair done here now. I mean, I don't have to leave Butterfield. I don't have to leave Butterfield at all anymore, although I do enjoy getting out some. So those are the things that we discovered. So now that I'm a widow, I get to make choices just for what I want to do. I don't have to try to work. I don't have to negotiate with anybody about what I should be doing or what I ought to do or what, So here is what I have determined for myself, because I think the community spirit we have, working together, using these capable, smart people with experience and ideas, because that's what Butterfield was. It was an idea. And it certainly has certainly done what it needs to do. So here's what I have formed 3 teams. I'm on I'm on Team Kevin. Kevin is the best in all. I've known all of them, and he is the best. He's a listener. He can make decisions. He is willing to make decisions. He's willing to take the heat and answer questions, and that is not something that I've seen very often. And so I'm on Team Kevin, so don't talk to me about anything negative about Kevin. The second is Team Butterfield staff. Without the staff, we would be miserable. They show up, they're kind, and they're helpful. And I try to thank every one of them that I see to tell them, I am so glad you're here today, because they need to hear that. So. The third team is what I call team gratitude. I watched my husband experience significant loss of vision and hearing, mobility challenges that prevented him from walking, and the necessity of a feeding tube. He always expressed thanks and never complained. I count daily my ability to see, taste, hear, and walk as my own circle of lifeline shortens. And phrase, I use the word frayed today because I feel there are days that we all feel like our little lifelines are very fragile. And I have learned it's a good practice for mental health in an increasingly fractured and broken world. Mental health is a very important part of your health. So I try to take my ability to be thankful for all those things that I still have, because many times you don't miss what you have until they're gone, and then you realize how important they were to you. So tonight, I want to recognize the leadership of all of those people who had an idea and pursued it vigilantly, faithfully, got it taken care of. I want to express thanks to all of the members of the board who serve without pay, using their experience and talent. We have so many. We've got a wonderful board. This board that we have today is just absolutely amazing. But every year we have had people who have experience in all kinds of things that can help us. We have engineers, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have you name it. Isn't that right? It's a great board. We even had the lawyer for the regional hospital. And of course, the regional now is being run by a former student of mine. That's one of the fun parts about having taught at the university. So, because here, I am here at Butterfield, not just with my sister. I'm here with high school friends, college friends, colleagues, former students from the university, people I taught with and worked with, people I've known in all the different churches. It's just amazing. My grandchildren think I know everybody in Fayetteville, and I don't know absolutely everybody here, but I know most of you, and I know most of your stories, and they're amazing. So anyway, I want to thank those unpaid board members of the 5 founding churches who give of their time and expertise to our community, to our administration, and our 40 years of past residents who come from a lot of other states. And why do they come? They have a child living in Fayetteville. They know nobody. My neighbor across was from Minnesota. I'd say there's a man here from Pennsylvania. They know no one here, and they come and they are loved and cared for. It's a wonderful place. So I want to thank those people who volunteer and work to keep Butterfield a community of people working together to bring people together to give them a good retirement. And we look forward to the opening of the new assisted living that will benefit us and those who are yet to come. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Okay. Thank you so much for coming tonight and hearing.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I've heard it said many times that your home is where your life story unfolds. And for me and my family, a lot of our life has unfolded here at Butterfield Trail Village. For starters, my parents are on this plaque that's right out there we've referenced as the original pioneers. And that was a good name for the people who started. So I have heard about Butterfield from the day one, long before it was even it began to happen. I've watched it often remotely, but I knew what was happening and I kept up with it. My mother lived here for 20 years. She was very active. She got involved with things. She was a floor leader. She was in a play that was presented one time. It became her community. My husband Curtis and I moved here about 6.5 years ago. 6 months of that we overlapped with her, and it was nice having up and downstairs a lot. It were precious months that we couldn't have had in any other way. For 20 years, I thanked Butterfield every day for my mother's care. In fact, the thanking, as other people have mentioned too, is for your kids. In fact, let my mind go here sometimes as a play. I can just envision a big, huge phone banks places, and then these mythical operators would be there answering the phone with the adult children calling, and they'd say, "Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, well, we try, but thank you." Because adult children love Butterfield. I did as the adult child, and my children do as well. I'm thinking about some of the things that have been summarize some of my feelings for this. We had my mother's service right here, her memorial service right here in the performance hall. She was really into the dulcimer, that mountain instrument. She was in the dulcimer, the Ozark Dulcimer Society, and they played here and they played all around a lot of places. So we brought a dulcimer player in for the service, and he was here with this, and we were here practicing, getting ready that day. They were playing with the piano. I thought it was all fine and good, and Michael Burke said, "No, wait a minute. There's something not right here. I hear a discord here." So I thought, they changed it and moved it around. It was a beautiful performance. And I thought later, I don't have the kind of musical ear that even recognized that. I couldn't have told the difference in the sounds and the music. I couldn't have, but Butterfield did. Curtis and I always liked to dance, and we liked music a lot. But in those days, we were not hanging out on Dixon Street so much anymore. But came here. Ricky brought the music to us. I couldn't have arranged that, but Butterfield did. Another thing, we moved, and we brought this big, old, antique wooden Chinese screen. We'd always just kind of had it sitting in the corner someplace, whatever, but we wanted it up on the wall. It was old, it was even warped a bit. And I thought, what are we going to do? Maintenance searched, and they found just the right metal strips that go on there, that go on the wall and on the frame, and they hung it. And I looked at that and I said, I could never do anything like that. Butterfield did. When our good friend Bill Curry died last year, Cookie and I wanted to have something for Bimmy and the family. So I talked to Mimo, and the kitchen provided the most beautiful, delicious lunch for the family. It was in the garden room. It was perfect for what we needed. And I thought, there was no way that I could have cooked and served 20 people right here. But Butterfield did. And when Curtis was having trouble walking for a while, first started having more trouble, I talked to Jennifer. She said, well, let me come and walk with him for a few minutes and we'll see what's going on. She did, and they developed a plan. And she connected him with an intern for a while, for a few months. Once again, I couldn't have made that happen at all, but Butterfield did. And healthcare, I just can't say enough good things about healthcare. My mother was there for about 5 years. Curtis was about 2.5 years. And as we all know, those are not the easy years of your life. But I am absolutely confident that healthcare extended lives for both of these people. And it wasn't just the quantity of the time, but it was the quality. They dealt with love, tenderness, dignity, compassion. It was something that I realized I could never have provided that for either one of them at the level that healthcare does. I moved from a house with 4,400 square feet to an apartment with 1,200 square feet. But I don't feel like I diluted my life. I didn't downsize. For the important things, if anything, I upsized. For the important things have been enriched in such a way that it's a beautiful thing to be able to see a better quality of facets of your life when you don't think it's going to be so beautiful, and it does turn out to be for the important things. It kind of reminds me of this, it's an example, I think, of the statement that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Butterfield's a team. It's a combination that we have. So I look forward to my life unfolding more, and I am proud to call Butterfield my home.
I'm going to have to move it up a little bit. Can everyone hear me okay? So thank you, Ricky, for inviting me to say a few words tonight. I feel very privileged to be with our other speakers tonight. My first introduction to Butterfield was actually several years before I became an employee. I attended 2, maybe 3 social work meetings that were hosted here, and I distinctly remember finding it difficult to find a parking place. So, just to let you know, it's not a new problem. It's been around for a while. I can remember that clearly. I thought you'd enjoy that. So, at that time, it never occurred to me that I would ever come to work here. It just never crossed my mind. But one day, back in 2005, I happened to see an ad in the paper. There was no Indeed back then, so it was newspaper ads. They had an opening for a resident social worker. And I read it and I thought, why not? I'll give it a shot. I sent in my application, came in and interviewed, and I was offered the job. And when he called me, it was Bob Brennan at that time, we called them administrators back then, it wasn't a CEO. When he called me, I immediately said yes. I didn't say, well, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. I didn't say, well, maybe I should go home and talk to my husband about this, which maybe I should have, but I didn't. I immediately said yes, because I knew without a doubt that the Lord had led me here to Butterfield. It was and has been a blessing. And in the 20 years that I've been here, I have never, ever regretted that decision because it has been such a blessing to my life. Now, I can tell you, it's been quite the ride over the last 20 years. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, we've had our good times, we've had a few that weren't quite so good. But there have been challenges, but as Jane mentioned, that working together, that community, we have gotten through that to the point where we are today. And especially since 2012 is when we really began to see so many changes. Up till then, things were kind of status quo, but in 2012, things kind of began to break loose, and we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of improvements. We've remodeled existing structures, some of it all at the same time, seems like, when we did the hallways and the healthcare center and so many things at one time. It was a little crazy. And then we've had new construction. I can very distinctly remember sitting in my old office when they had brought in the machinery to bust up the old Circle Drive, and sitting at my desk as that thing beat the ground, and literally my desk was shaking. And it was that point that I developed a great deal of empathy for residents who have to endure remodeling in nearby units. So they had totally my sympathy and my empathy. But there's just been so many good changes over the years. The bistro, it's been popular since the day it opened. People have enjoyed it so much. This performance hall, aren't you glad that we're in here tonight instead of the old convocation room? I know Ricky is, I know. I think that was what I've been the most excited for, because she waited so many years for this and to be able to do the things that she wanted to do. So just think about us. I don't know that we could have gotten us all back there, so because we are a full house tonight. But so many good changes, so many good things. But the very best thing about Butterfield, and I may cry, I'm sorry, is the people. It is the most amazing place with the most amazing people. And it's really the people here, our residents. Well, I'm still here. I could have retired several years ago. Some of you may be going, why haven't you? Yeah. But it's like leaving my family to retire. The people here are just amazing. Such amazing stories, such incredible people. And I have so many memories of so many over the years. And even though it hurts to lose people, the privilege and honor of having known them and been a part of their life is just unbelievable. And their families. We get to know the families as well. And I've been here long enough that some of those family members have become residents now. So I remember, in particular, Linda Pinkerton, her mother lived here, and she was living in Florida, and we kept in touch, and I kept saying, you need to hurry up and move here. I'm going to have to retire before you get here. But I lasted, Linda. So it's just been such an incredible thing to get to know all these people. And also the employees. I mean, it's my fellow employees. So many wonderful people here. You talked about, back in healthcare. I remember going to a funeral for someone who had passed away in healthcare. And sitting there and watching, there were CNAs that came on their own time to that funeral, and they were crying harder than the family. That just so impressed me and touched my heart that they had gotten so close to that resident and loved that person so much. It's really a community. It's a family here in so many ways. I spend more time with some of you than I do with my own family because we're here so much. I may not have left my mark on Butterfield, but I can absolutely assure you Butterfield has left its mark on me and on my life, and I am forever, forever grateful. I'm grateful for the wonderful residents and their families that I've had the privilege to know. I'm grateful for the friends I've made. I'm grateful for the experiences that I have had that have allowed me to grow professionally and personally. I have been blessed beyond measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Jane. And thank you for recognizing our Butterfield board. Chuck, thank you for all you're doing. But I do want to give big shout out and kudos to our Butterfield Foundation Board. We have the best foundation board we've had in a long time, and I'm very confident that they're going to do great things for you. So I'd like to introduce Sabra Martin, the new Butterfield Trail Village Foundation president.
What a community. How sweet it is to remember those who came before. I can't imagine having the vision to recognize that there was going to be a need for people like us to have housing and health care and social activities. Yes, it is very sweet to remember. One thing that hadn't been mentioned yet is that the culture was really changing in the 80s. Adult children were no longer staying in the same community as their parents. This has a big impact on what seniors need, what they had the vision to see that seniors would be needing. So many of us do not have any children who live in the state of Arkansas or even within 4 or 5 hours drive. So that's a special motivation probably for the people who created Butterfield Trail, and it is a special blessing, as Ann and several others have mentioned, for the children and us parents. It's lovely. The people who created Butterfield Trail were the leaders in our community churches and in our Northwest Arkansas community at large. They had many different roles in the community. They were our friends and our mentors, especially to me. I think so many of those people were really my mentors. So it is a great privilege to serve on the foundation board. The foundation board was begun by Truman and Sylvia Yancey. Sylvia is here this evening. It was their foresight and generosity which provided and created the framework to receive gifts and contributions and memorials that would be used for the community. And of course, that's still our purpose, our only purpose. Tonight, I also want to thank Hugh Kincaid and Chuck Culver for writing an official history of the Foundation Board of Butterfield Trail. It was a long, arduous work, but we now have it, and if you want to read it, you can ask for it from Lisa Collins. Your foundation board accepts the torch and moves forward. Thank you for all the past contributions and all the ones we hope will come too. Thank you.
All right, good evening. Yes, I am the newbie here, so I appreciate Ricky giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and observations for my first 2 years this month here, so thank you very much. And thank you for the wonderful program that's been put together. It's truly an honor to be here tonight to celebrate the 40 years of Butterfield Trail Village. You know, milestones like this invite us to reflect and appreciate the vision, the dedication, and the commitment that made all of this possible. 40 years ago, Butterfield Trail Village began with a vision, one with thoughtful planning, compassionate leadership, and a deep commitment to serving people in a meaningful way. What started as an idea became a community, and that community has continued to grow and flourish because of the people who believed in it. Over the past 4 decades, the leadership teams, board members who have served in this organization have demonstrated remarkable foresight and dedication that's been mentioned here tonight. Their careful planning and stewardship have planned Butterfield Trail Village through changing times and challenging times while always staying true to the mission. Each decision, each improvement, and each step forward was made with the goal of strengthening this community for both present and future residents. Because of that leadership, Butterfield Trail Village has never stood still. Year after year, progress has been made, facilities have been improved, services have been expanded, programs have grown, and through it all, the focus remained on creating a place where people feel valued, supported, and connected. But what truly defines Butterfield Trail Village is not just the buildings or the programs, it's the people. It's the residents who bring life stories, wisdom, friendship into the community. It's the staff that show care, compassion, and dedication every single day. It's the volunteers, their families, and supporters who continue to invest their time and energy in making this a very special place. Together, all of you have helped shape the culture and the spirit that make Butterfield Trail Village a remarkable community. Anniversaries also remind us that success does not come overnight. 40 years of progress represents countless hours of work, thoughtful decision-making, and a shared belief that this community matters. Because of those efforts, Butterfield Trail Village today stands stronger than ever, and it's in a place, it's known for its quality, its compassion, and its commitment to excellence, and we want to continue that tradition. And while we celebrate the past tonight, we're also looking ahead. The same spirit of thoughtful leadership, careful planning that has guided this community for 40 years continues today. With an engaged board, a dedicated staff, and an incredible community of residents and supporters, the future of Butterfield Trail Village is very bright. If the past 40 years have shown us anything, it's that when people work together for a vision and a purpose, great things can happen. So tonight we celebrate the visionaries who first imagined this community, the leaders and board members that guided it through the years, the staff who served it and serve it every day, and the residents who make it a place of connection and life. And most of all, here's to the next chapter of Butterfield Trail Village, a future filled with continued progress, meaningful community, and the same thoughtful leadership that has brought us this far. And lastly, thank you to everyone who played a part in these 40 incredible years, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. I loved your words. Butterfield Trail Village has been my work home for 38 years. I have to tell you this quickly because it's a story that some of you've heard, but it is kind of hysterical. How many of you attended the lunch at the lodge today? And you saw the stagecoach? Unfortunately, the horses were unavailable. But I was working as the administrative secretary. It wasn't an assistant back then. And the young lady that was in the program director's position, her husband got a transfer. And so I quickly applied for the position with my art background. And the administrator at the time said, well, we're coming up on our 3rd anniversary, and I really want a stagecoach and horses to give rides around the campus. If you can find me a stagecoach and horses, the job is yours. So I went to my secretarial office, and I called up my husband, who worked at Tyson Foods, who was a circuit-trained bull rider in the rodeo for several years and knew everybody on the Springdale Rodeo of the Ozarks board. And about 2 hours later, I went back into his office and I said, what time would you like your stagecoaches and horses to arrive? And there it is. It has been such an honor to be a part of such a, excuse me, it's been such an honor to be a part of Butterfield Trail Village. And before I forget, I want to recognize very special people from as early as 1969 to today. And that is the spouses and the little children who have been at home alone because we're at work doing things that we're doing, that they've done all these years to go to meetings and to make plans and move forward and have programs and events. I think that's very special, and I think they should be honored as well. Well, reaching the summit literally means arriving at the highest point of a mountain. Metaphorically, it signifies reaching a pinnacle, the highest level of success in one's long-term endeavor, and often represents overcoming significant challenges to achieve it. This evening, I would like to take you on a little journey, Butterfield's journey, to reach the summit. The #1 song in 1968 was Simon and Garfunkel's Mrs. Apollo 8 orbited the moon. The country lost Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy. And Ted Wiley, the editor of the Northwest Arkansas Times newspaper, was writing an article, Why Not Here? The point of this article was to ask locals if many locations in the U.S. accommodated senior living, why not in Northwest Arkansas? Would they consider occupying such a place here with the people, the climate, and the scenery they've called home? Hopefully somebody would look into those prospects. Raymond Nelson and Stephen Stefan were University of Arkansas professors, and Ellis Shelton was a bank president. They were fellow Rotarians and community-minded individuals, and read Ted Wiley's article. And that, my friends, is what planted the seed for a retirement community in Northwest Arkansas. In a whirlwind of conversations this swift planning, these men formed a community group to discuss the possibility of a high-quality retirement village in Fayetteville. The very next year, First United Presbyterian Church member Stephen Stefan, appointed by the Presbytery's Strategic and Program Committee, wrote a letter to Fayetteville churches and civic groups requesting a poll of their members aged 62 and older. This is the earliest documented letter, dated October 7th, 1969. In 1970, Stefan wrote the director of the elderly housing loans in Washington, inquiring about funding. Nelson makes a point of finding out all he can about retirement communities, and in 1973, he discovered an article in the May issue of the Times, New York Times, and it was to become the model for Butterfield Trail Village. A retirement community should Focus on people 62 and over. Emphasize emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. Make it possible for residents to keep in touch with the community and family. Encourage activities that will exercise the brain and body. Ensure that when needed, residents receive adequate professional medical and nursing care. Moving on to 1974, Stefan sent a second letter to the leaders of Fayetteville churches and businesses and civic organizations. He suggests that the churches sponsor a not-for-profit organization that could arrange the necessary financing, acquire the land, determine the complex's desired features, and select an architect to design. As a result of the memo, several people acting as an unofficial steering committee invited 2 development organizations to Fayetteville to discuss the possibilities. One company replies that it would not consider visiting Fayetteville because it is too inaccessible. The other responds with a list of costs for a project like this and says they'll be gladly to join us and have discussions for a mere $250,000 front money. The committee didn't have a dime, folks. Can it be that this idea and this time just hasn't come for us? Some committee members thought so, and they decided to stop meeting. There were a few others, though, who were willing to move on. It's spring of 1975. Margaret Stefan, Stephen Stefan's wife, just retired as principal of Leverett School. She was then elected to the First United Presbyterian Church session and named chairman of the Deacons Committee. This allows her to revive the idea of a retirement village. She also learns that the Presbytery owns about 10 acres of land on Garland Avenue. You know where Harp's Grocery is on? That was a blank slate of 10 acres. 2 years later, 77, the Stefans invited the head of the Presbyterian Housing Incorporated from Urban, Illinois, to visit Fayetteville and speak to the Presbyterian session, the Methodist Board, and their public. Interest picked up. They later visited the Presbyterian Village in Little Rock and invited a Mr. Clippard, their architect and administrator, to Fayetteville to give a look at the 10 acres. At the time, Clay Bell was the pastor of FUPC. The Stefans and Mr. Clippard feel that the 10 acres would suffice, so they were getting excited. Still, the Presbytery refused to sell it, saying that other churches in the Presbytery might feel that Fayetteville was being favored. April 78, the Presbyterian session holds a retreat at Lost Bridge, and the elders are enthusiastic but don't see any way a Fayetteville church can finance such an ambitious project. Clay Bell puts the idea in the care of a long-range planning committee with parishioner Bob Bill as chairman. This committee approached First Christian Church, Central United Methodist Church, and St. Paul's Episcopal Church to inquire about their interest in collaborating, and the answer was yes. Over time, a larger committee evolved into the beginning of a board that includes representatives of 4 churches at the time: Truman Yancey and Gloria McPherson from Central, Ellis Shelton and Eugene Holmes from St. Paul's, Ellen Meenan from First Christian, Don McGuire and David Lashley, and Margaret Stefan and Bob Bill from First United Presbyterian. Bob Bill was elected the first president of the board. To stagger their terms, directors were drawn for 1, 2, and 3-year terms. Henceforth, directors will serve a 3-year term. The board begins keeping formal records. They authorized Presbyterian Housing to conduct a feasibility study with Central United Methodist Church and First United Presbyterian Church with the $6,500 cost shared between them. The board then incorporated it as a non-for-profit organization and filed for tax-exempt status. First Baptist Church then became the 5th sponsoring church. Leadership was complete. Board members continued to visit other sites for ideas, and in 1979, they visited the Presbyterian Village in St. Paul, Minnesota. The administrator was invaluable and strongly advised against using federal funds, even if they were available. Their rules and regs would tie you up, he said, and you wouldn't be able to build what you want. He suggests contacting the American Association of Housing for the Aged. On January 8th, 1981, the Articles of Incorporation were received, and shortly thereafter, the certificate entitled us to a tax-exempt status. We're now a legal entity and can do business. Bylaws were needed to spell out how to conduct business, and those drawn up follow the same procedure the committee follows. Each sponsoring church will choose 10 members of its congregation who will constitute the corporate membership, also known as the corporate board, together. Their chief function will be to elect 9 directors to manage the corporation's affairs. A majority of the directors will constitute a quorum. A decision by a majority of those present at any meeting will be considered an act of the board. Directors will elect their officers annually, and directors will receive no compensation but may be reimbursed for expenses. There was a downside at this point, however. The consultants have not been encouraging so far. That $250,000 figure popped up again to get started, and no one else would consider discussing it. On top of that, the results of the feasibility study are most discouraging. By September 81, it appeared they had reached a stalemate and didn't know where to turn next. Sensing everyone's despair, Colonel Eugene Holmes invited members of the board, their spouses, and pastors of sponsoring churches to his home for a Sunday evening supper. Paul Davenport, who placed Clay Bell as pastor of FUPC, joins the group. He tells us how pleased he is to be part of a community where people are making things happen. And he says, we may want to contact RCAI, Retirement Centers of America. His father was on the board of Trinity Village in Fort Worth, and he says they were delighted with the work that this organization did. So hopes began to soar again. In the meantime, 4 meetings were scheduled. October of 81, Bob Bill writes a letter to the church saying, the board of VTV is now ready to accept commitments from those interested in living in the proposed facility. If enough people want to see the village become a reality and are willing to deposit good faith, the project can get underway. Given these details and business-like propositions, people's interest revives quickly. They begin sending in their checks. In fact, those who shared the vision are permanently recognized as the original pioneers. They each contributed $2,500 in earnest money to demonstrate their commitment to this community. The plaque to honor the original pioneers, as Jane mentioned, is located in the lobby by the piano. After several more visits, they informed us that they believed the project was feasible. It was time to give the project a name. They chose Butterfield Trail Village after John Butterfield, not for his creative comb-over, but for his role as a pioneer who forged a trail from St. Louis to California, delivering the U.S. mail along the Butterfield Overland Trail from 1858 to 1861. The Overland Express stagecoach mail route ran during this time and only came to an end abruptly due to the Civil War. May of 82, the board voted to employ Retirement Centers of America as a consultant. The first objective was to obtain a certificate of need, a license for health care or Medicare beds, solely based on the area's population. You don't just call and say, I need 100 beds, and they give them to you. It's based on the population of your city. Until they acquired the certificate of need, not a shovel could be turned. If they had any illusions about the beginning, about there being a mere formality, they were soon face to face with reality. Companies operating nursing homes in the area also saw us as a threat. They were objecting to the plans. Board members learned about political power, and it would be over a year before they had that certificate in hand. Truman Yancey, BTV's attorney, became involved, and he had a big role in making that happen. In the meantime, planning continued. There was a possible option on 45 acres of land at the junction of Joyce, Butterfield, and Old Missouri Road out in the country. And then on June 3rd, 82, there was a progress to report. The board received the title to 15 acres of land on Joyce owned by Virginia Wilson, a retired Fayetteville educator. She was interested in becoming a resident, but her finances were meager. The board entered into a contract with her, and for the exchange of land, stating that she sold the 15 acres for $195,000. When the facility was ready for occupancy, Wilson would accept a 2-bedroom super apartment and a life care option valued at $84,000. The land was bought with the interest earned on a trust fund, leaving the principal intact, but I apologize, there is no record of this trust fund that I could find. Oh, back up. This is Joe and Frances Fleming. Future residents of Butterfield at the time owned 30 acres adjacent to Wilson's property that bordered Joyce and Mud Creek. He said he would never sell it for commercial use, mainly because it was an active grape vineyard, but liked the idea of a retirement village being built. And that was that. On September 2nd, 82, Retirement Centers of America Marketing Department invited prospective residents to an updated meeting at the Center for Continuing Education, still patiently waiting for that certificate of need. Things weren't looking so good. Don McGuire told the board he would be willing to ask a friend to help. So then Governor Bill Clinton listened sympathetically during a dinner at McGuire's home, but determined he couldn't do anything. Then Dr. Morris Henry, Arkansas State Senator, said, "I don't think the members of the Health Services Agency understand what you're trying to build. It's not another nursing home. It's a retirement community. And who could imagine creating a village for retired people without a health care center? I would suggest the board get personally acquainted with the Arkansas Healthcare Agency members and explain." So, for the rest of the summer, as they could, board members took the time from their businesses and drove all over the state to meet commission members and explain why that certificate of need was so important. Even so, when the hearing came up in the fall, 2 van loads of people, consisting of board members, community leaders, and future residents, drove to Little Rock to formally testify. October of 83, they finally received the certificate of need, not for the 60 beds requested, but 40. At this point, they were thankful for those. Having cleared that hurdle, they were ready to tackle the next one, the bond issue. By the spring of 84, they were set to sell the bonds issued by the Fayetteville Public Facilities Board. The underwriters, Merrill Lynch and Stevens, Inc., handled it all. But at this point, the Arkansas Supreme Court intervenes. In a Little Rock motel lawsuit, the Supreme Court ruled that no more municipal bonds could be sold. So on May 24th, a class action suit was filed challenging the bond issue, naming BTV and the Fayetteville Public Facilities Board as defendants. The board was apprehensive, but the suit would allow them to prove that the Supreme Court's decision did not apply to a project like BTV. On August 3rd, 1983, the Northwest Arkansas Times read, "Retirement Village Challenge Dismissed." And these are the people that loaded up in the vans and went to the state capitol, and Governor Clinton is on the right, and the Flemings are on the far left. That's Woody Bassett, and Buell Woods. So several residents are there. The bonds were signed on September 1, 1984 for over $28 million was in the bank, allowing construction to begin. The groundbreaking ceremony took place on Wednesday, September 19, 1984, with then Governor Bill Clinton, who dedicated the visionaries in attendance. The village began to take shape during the next 18 months, and the original 9 watched their dream become a reality. Can you see the grape vineyard at the top? The first residents Virginia Wilson, and Martha Rice moved in on March 10th, 1986. Soon there were 75 residents. These ladies cut many anniversary cakes together. Today our census is 416. The 10th anniversary and then the 20th anniversary came by so fast. And then the Board of Directors initiated the first strategic plan for growth in 2002, accomplishing the following projects: Health Care Center expansion, utility conversion to geothermal energy, first village home expansion, installation of the pendant locator system, converted manual charting to computerized charting in our Health Care Center. The village has experienced significant growth, including the Health Care Center expansion in 2003, village homes, the lodge, fitness centers, and the Special Care Center in 2005, which was our first capital campaign, first and only capital campaign. Projects like the new Aquatic and Wellness Center were completed, the new Commons area that also includes this lovely performance hall that opened in 2017. This was the lodge open house. Frank Broyles was our guest speaker. Butterfield has also had other exciting additions in that time frame, which is the addition of the UAMS clinic, a BTV sensory garden in the courtyard for health care, special care, and in 2021, a 120 space parking lot on the east side of campus. Projects have included the dining room and special care. Many of these projects have been supported or matched by donations through the BTV Foundation, founded in 1984 by original board member Truman Yancey. His wife Sylvia, who again is here with us this evening, helped establish the Truman Yancey Endowment Fund, which has sustained the BTV Foundation for many years. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Donations from residents and their families have made these projects and services possible. Thank you for making a realistic difference in the lives of those who live and work at Butterfield, and for the many projects on the horizon, particularly the new assisted living expansion. As Kevin mentioned, our path continues to expand with well-thought-out capital budget projects to repair, improve, and enhance our campuses and our services. I want to acknowledge the Residents Association for its work over the decades. Year after year, resident volunteers contribute their knowledge, time, and energy to ensure the village is a thriving, responsible, and sustainable community. There have been complex discussions with administration and board members. Still, the results have yielded numerous success stories, a testament to the benefits of working together and maintaining the founder's vision. Many of the challenges and successes can be found in a book titled The History of BTV Residents Association, which was written by residents. A copy is available in our library. And it would be really nice if we had volunteers who would organize Volume 2. Other resident volunteer-led programs that have made their mark on history in our village include our recycling program, the farmers market, and entertainers. Butterfield Trail Village is a thriving 501c3. All the monies you pay to Butterfield Trail Village are used for operations, from the desserts you enjoyed this evening to insurance coverage, from salaries to supplies for healthcare and special care centers. Neither the board of directors nor sponsoring churches receive compensation for their association with the village. They are volunteers, and we are most grateful to each of them. While we've experienced growing pains over the decades, we've had more successes. The residents are resilient, evolving with the times, understanding that if you're not moving forward, you'll become stagnant. Your participation has been and continues to be the foundation of our success. We are grateful to you. The people that make Butterfield special. The smiles are worth millions to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, have we reached the summit? In many ways, yes. However, there will always be a mountain on the horizon for the new visionaries, the dreamers, the movers and shakers. Butterfield is unique in so many beautiful ways, but its caring culture generated by the board of directors, staff, employees, and the wonderful residents set us apart. Always has, always will. Happy 40th anniversary, Butterfield Trail Village. This program has been recorded, so when we are available to do this, we'll advertise it and we'll show it on Residents In-House TV, okay? Thank you so much. Be careful driving home.